In this bonus track, I want to chat a little bit about the value of entering good notes into your CRM platform. Let's start with what is a CRM? It's your customer relationship management system. This is where you put all the good stuff so you can see your information about your sales, your marketing activities. It's where you store your contact data. It's even where you can see the how your work is tied to your referral sources. These systems have a lot in them today. We're going to focus on just one part, and it's how to leave good notes after any sort of discussion or interaction. Good notes make your job easier. I promise. Getting into good note taking habits will make your next call, appointment, networking meeting all that much easier. You'll have a record of what you discussed, and you'd be able to ask a follow up onto that, or even prompt yourself for what you want to use in your next reach out based on that discussion. Now, the nuts and bolts of how you do this will vary by system, but there are a few key things I think you should include in good notes, and it can all be accomplished by using an I said, they said style of conversation. Let's dig into this. Let's pretend I'm a new salesperson hired at a company. A senior rep wants to hand over some accounts to me. How amazing. This is going to be cake. The rep advises me to go check out the CRM notes and start making calls to introduce myself. Great. I have to just look at all that great history in our system and know right where I can start with our clients. I open up the first record, and here's what I see in the last few notes. 1. Good conversation today. We talked about baseball. 2. Stopped by and dropped off marketing materials. She was in a meeting. 3. Saw at a networking event. Talked for a few minutes before dinner. This is almost no help. There's so much here that I am not learning, other than that the client uses a female pronoun and knows something about baseball. This is pretty much nothing, and I could have learned the same amount of information outside of our CRM. So now I'm going to share the kind of notes I would have loved to have seen in my pretend situation that I've created here. Get ready, these are long. Lucy and I had a great conversation. I said I was sorry. I just dropped in recently without a call, and that I was just in the area and wanted to have a follow-up from when we saw each other at IFMA. She says, no problem. If it was a meeting she could have stepped out of, she would have. It was actually funny timing as they were having a meeting about vendor partners. I asked what they were discussing. She mentioned they were thinking about developing a better payables portal for their vendors. And she was nervous to make it too strict a system, but they were struggling to find people right now, and the system may make paying their vendors smoother. I mentioned we did this with a few clients, and I'd be happy to be a test vendor if they found a system they wanted to try out a bit. She loved this idea and said we'd make a plan to chat in a few weeks once they've gotten through another round. I offered to let her know that the systems we use too, and she loved that idea. She asked her on as they were getting a company outing, going to a company outing at a Yankee game that night. She could care less about the actual game, but loved having time like that with her team. End of notes, but I made a few notes to myself. Schedule a follow-up call in a few weeks to talk about the payable system, and send an email to our AP team to talk about what vendor portals we know that I can send to Lucy. Now, when you compare that set of notes to the first one, good conversation today, we talked about baseball. And the second note you see in the interaction that you're noting multiple things you can follow up on that could further the relationship with. You can talk about the AP project. Lucy is not a baseball or really a Yankees fan, but she loves her company events. This could prompt some internal follow-ups I mentioned, as well as sharing any good group activities you see in the area for her and her team. Also, if she's going to come to any of our events, we may offer her to bring someone because that could be a good way to get her to commit. Now let's look at that second note and compare it with what I'm going to read in a minute. So the note was stopped by and dropped off marketing materials. She was in a meeting. Here's the pretend great note. I was in the area. I stopped in without an appointment. Lucy was in a meeting. I left our new value add about hurricane prep for commercial buildings with a note letting her know I'd reach out to schedule a follow-up. End of note. Note to self, email Lucy a few times I could come by and see her and follow up. Now in the second set of notes, I have the reason why I didn't speak to her. I didn't have an appointment. She had a conflict, and what info I dropped off in case I need to reference it later. In this pretend case, I don't bring up hurricanes again at all, but at least I know what material I gave her so I don't accidentally give it to her again. Now let's look at the last one. So we're going to compare the following note with saw at a networking event, talked for a few minutes before dinner. Now here's the thorough note. Saw Lucy at IFMA. She gave me a big hug. I asked her how things were going, and she mentioned she was having trouble finding people for her finance team. I let her know I didn't think I had anyone in my network, but that I'd ask around. She appreciated it, said she needs to get someone with a few years experience in QuickBooks, so they aren't training the basics, really just training their particular setup. Dinner started, we had to go to our tables, we hugged goodbye. Note to self, scan through client lists and see if I have anyone I can reach out to with finance connections. Follow up with Lucy in a few weeks about hiring. Now, we know what networking event we were at. We know what we talked about before going to dinner, and I'm offering myself as a resource for Lucy for the future. I think the difference in these notes are huge. Yes, they're long. Yes, it takes extra moment to get these good notes, but by putting this good data into the CRM, you are putting less pressure on yourself to remember every conversation and every detail. The more clients you have, the harder this will be. Now, next time you reach out to your person, you have a really good reference to have a high quality conversation and not just be doing the dreaded checking in. You probably also saw that I had put some follow-up notes in there. Depending on your CRM, you might be able to trigger these right away. I just wanted to call it the fact that there were some follow-ups for us in each of these conversations that needed action. You never get to complete an activity in your CRM without scheduling a follow-up. That was a lot of words, but as sales folks, you love the words. So don't be afraid to get them in the system in order to make your follow-up and your next discussion more valuable. See you on the next bonus track.